On July 20th, Disney summarily fired James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as well as from his role as architect of the cosmic side of the MCU going forward. Disney severed all ties, and in a very public way. In this video, I will go over the background for the firing, why Disney chose that particular course of action, what this will mean for the future of Guardians of the Galaxy and the cosmic side of the MCU, and finally, if there are any lessons to be learned from this. The good thing about social media like Twitter and all the rest is that they give you a venue to express yourself and interact with others. The bad thing about social media like Twitter and all the rest is that every poorly thought through thing you ever said, even when you were a nobody, can and will be used against you, especially if you at some point become somebody. Like so many before him, James Gunn learned this the hard way. During his tenure on Twitter, Gunn has sent out more than 30,000 tweets, 10,000 of which have since been deleted. And some of the early ones contained a wording which could be construed as borderline homophobic, racist, and worst of all, pedophiliac. He has been called out on something similar to this before. Back in 2012, he had to issue an apology for racist and sexist blog comments about fictional superheroes. The borderline pedophile tweets though, the ones which are the reason why he is now in hot water, went completely under the radar at the time. He was after all not yet a Marvel director, but a struggling indie filmmaker. That is not to say the tweets in question weren't, at best, in extremely poor taste even then, but there was no one following him that noticed or cared. Years later, he did become a Marvel director and a public persona, and he gained a significant following on Twitter. By then, he had cleaned up his act considerably, and used Twitter to interact with fans and to provide commentary on the film industry itself. The most controversial thing he did since becoming famous was expressing his personal political views, something which was cheered by the half of his followers that shared his political stance, and frowned upon by the other half that didn't. James Gunn is quite left-leaning, and he has been very critical of not just President Trump, but more recently of conservative figures like Ben Shapiro. In America, there is freedom of speech, so that is his right. However, it would appear that conservative news outlet The Daily Caller did not much appreciate how he used his freedom of speech, and decided to investigate if he had used that freedom of speech to say something compromising or otherwise not in line with his current views before. Lo and behold, he had, and the evidence of that was made public. The shitstorm was instantaneous. In response to his tweets resurfacing, Gunn tweeted that, "Many people who have followed my career know, when I started, I viewed myself as a provocateur, making movies and telling jokes that were outrageous and taboo. As I have discussed publicly many times, as I've developed as a person, so has my work and my humor." He added, "It is not to say I am better, but I am very, very different than I was a few years ago. Today I try to root my work in love and connection and less in anger. My days saying something just because it's shocking and trying to get a reaction are over." Alas, other things are over too, such as Gunn working for Marvel and being an in-demand director. Less than 24 hours after Gunn's past comments were brought out of oblivion and into the limelight, Disney had fired him. In a statement made on Friday, July 20th, Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn said, "The offensive attitudes and statements discovered on James' Twitter feed are indefensible and inconsistent with our studio's values, and we have severed our business relationship with him." Do note that this statement did not come from Marvel, but from parent company Disney. This was an executive decision, a matter in which Marvel had no say. For all we know, it might have been the first time Disney forced a decision upon Marvel. Whether or not one chooses to agree with it, it is easy to see Disney's point of view here. They are in the business of selling magic moments for families in a multitude of different ways. They will tolerate individual directors and creators expressing their political and social views, but anything which even remotely can be construed as so much as hinting at children's or animals' genitals or sexual functions is verboten. It doesn't matter if it was said in jest. It doesn't matter that the tweets were made a long time ago. It doesn't matter that James Gunn is the same person today as he was the day before these old tweets resurfaced. It doesn't matter that he made 2 very successful movies for them since these tweets were made, and it doesn't matter that he was lined up to make them a lot more money in the future. What matters is Disney's public perception, and how James Gunn's newly discovered dirty laundry will taint any Marvel movie he's involved with, and therefore the Marvel brand. One can discuss Gunn's rights in all of this, and if Disney's reaction was fair or excessive. But those old tweets resurfacing just made James Gunn a liability, and against the backdrop of Ant-Man and the Wasp underperforming, and fans rioting against Disney Star Wars, the last thing Disney needs is any more liabilities. Especially not liabilities which may affect the Marvel brand. Decisive action was required. For Marvel, these are bad news. There's no 2 ways about it. They must be freaking out right about now. James Gunn was one of their stars, and he was lined up not only to direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, after being instrumental in making the first 2 the hits they were. He was also lined up to function as an architect of the cosmic side of the MCU going forward. That is all gone now, and he will be very hard to replace. James Gunn is an auteur filmmaker, one who made deeply personal movies. Unlike many other auteur filmmakers though, he could adapt his vision to work within the confines of the MCU and excel while doing so. He can be replaced, he will have to be, but it won't be an easy task. Whoever is interested in taking over his job better start combing through their social media accounts though, because one definitive consequence this will have, not just for Marvel and Disney, but perhaps the industry as a whole, is that future directors, and down the line maybe producers and actors as well, will be subject to a far more vigorous screening process before being hired. In the current socio-political atmosphere, studios will have to take further steps to ensure that their chosen helmers of big-budget movies don't have skeletons in their closets which may compromise the studio's investment. There actually is a moral to this story, not just for Hollywood, but for everyone who expresses themselves on social media. The lesson is, think twice before pressing post, or tweet, or publish, or whatever. Everything you say in public. If you have some level of following, everything you say, even if you delete it afterwards, may have been archived and can be used against you at any point in the future. In the court of public opinion, judgment is swift and there are no appeals, so take precautions not to get there in the first place. Use common sense. Think how what you post is likely to be received, and if you are comfortable having it thrown in your face 10 or 20 or 30 years down the line. James Gunn clearly didn't think it through before tweeting all those years back, and today that cost him the Marvel gig, and possibly his career. Was this too harsh a reaction, or does it serve him right? Let me know your thoughts on the matter in the comments.
If you like this video, then please click the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified for all the latest uploaded content. Due to recent changes to YouTube's monetization policies, we'd also like to ask you to please consider supporting Midnight's Edge and its sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark through Patreon. As thanks for their support, patrons will receive early notifications of mini-documentaries, special behind-the-scenes making of the Edge videos, bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, and more. You can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Be sure to check back for news and analysis on the corporate politics behind your favorite genre movies, as well as updates and discussion here at Midnight's Edge.